Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this IDEA COVID-19 support webinar. My name is Sandy Todd Webster, and I serve as the editor-in-chief of IDEA's publications. Today's topic is focused on self-care during crisis. The entire world has been thrown out of sync because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are all treading in unfamiliar territory. The fact that I was working on Easter Sunday to prep for a webinar on self-care is a perfect example of how mixed up our lives have become. Today's panel will offer practical solutions toward calming the storm within and finding routine, peace, and hope during this dire period. With such limited time, I am providing modest introductions for each of our panelists, but I encourage you to read more about their numerous accolades and accomplishments in the webinar notes. Each expert is an innovator who approaches integrative wellness through evidence and dedicated practice. Shirley Archer, IDEA's 2008 Fitness Instructor of the Year, is a graduate of Stanford, Harvard, and Georgetown University Law Center. She is an integrative health promoter and advocate, best-selling author of 16 books, and a fitness industry leader and health journalist with over 25 years experience in mind-body holistic health and wellness. Lawrence Biscontini is an industry author, presenter, consultant, mentor, and course development specialist for the International Council on Active Aging, Power Music, and People of iSpa. He was named IDEA Fitness Instructor of the Year in 2004 and is a past Inner IDEA Inspiration Award recipient, among his many other industry accolades.
Yes.
Paul Ruska, Director of Education and Culture at Choose Fitness, has nearly 20 years experience as a personal trainer, group fitness instructor, and educator. From 2002 to 2018, she helped grow Fit for Mom as Global Fitness Director and Pre- and Postnatal Director. And finally, Dan McDonough is Director of Performance and Programming for Good Life Fitness Canada and Les Mills Canada. He has held leading roles in the industry with global brands such as Les Mills, TRX, and Under Armour. He also is the 2012 IDEA Group Fitness Instructor of the Year. Welcome, one and all. It is so great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to see familiar faces that I hold very dear. And on behalf of IDEA and the entire fitness community, I wanted to thank each of you for devoting some of your precious time to share your expertise on the importance of self-care and mindfulness and stress reduction during this health crisis. I wanted to start out by talking about this massive disruption of our lives and the importance of reestablishing routines and habits that keep us on track. Our homes, which are normally our safe havens from the outside world, have become our workplaces, our schools, our gyms, our restaurants, kind of our everything. It's our world right now. Our freedoms and our familiar routines have really unraveled. So to each of you, how do we first recognize and accept this as our new reality, at least temporarily, and then move on with positive steps? Let's start out with by hearing from Shirley.
Great. That's a huge question, and I love actually how you framed it, because recognize and accept are probably the first 2 points I would immediately endorse as being the keys to our healthfully embracing and handling the big challenges ahead of us. So it is disruptive, it is unanticipated, and I'm sure none of us have a game plan for how we're going to respond to this situation. So the first thing is I think one of the things one of my meditation teachers taught me, which I think is very important, is that a lot of our unhappiness and our suffering is a result from fighting with reality. And if you think about it, it's actually very true. We get upset that we miss a plane or a connection, or we are feeling too stressed because we've assumed too many responsibilities. But if we actually face the reality that we have, then we can approach it with a more positive outlook and a solution-oriented mindset. So I think the first thing, because I want to be as brief as possible, and I love to talk, so that's always a challenge. But is simply to recognize the reality of this situation and to fully acknowledge the wide range of emotions. For example, we just had a big holiday weekend, and it was so odd, depending on what your family tradition is, to not be able to celebrate it with a lot of people physically together. And it was hard to be upbeat about that, and then I got after myself because, I shouldn't be down, but then it's okay to not be happy about things being disrupted. It's okay to be sad that you can't see each other, or that if you do see each other, you can't give each other a hug. It's okay to feel confused and disoriented. So I think the first step is that we really have to acknowledge the largeness of the disruption, and to allow ourselves to have all of these emotions. And one of my teachers is another person who I like. What she does is she says, yes, anger, yes, confusion, yes, sadness, yes. Sometimes just labeling the different feelings and thoughts that we have, and then acknowledging and then asking ourselves, can I just be with that, is a great way to settle, because we're not fighting with the emotions. A lot of us, especially, I know, we're always motivating each other. We're always inspiring our clients. We're always the happy one that you can do it, yes. But it's okay to not be that way feeling all the time. So I think really wrapping our heads around that. And then I'm gonna share, let others speak.
Yeah, let's hear from our other experts. Dan, can you share?
Yeah, just to add upon Shirley's great insight. I don't think I've said the phrase "this too shall pass" more often in my entire life. And to back on what Shirley had just said, I think our clients and our participants are expecting us to be leaders. And I'll be the first to admit, I've had my days where I've had barely enough energy to get through the day on what I need to do to take care of me and my family. So it's a very odd situation where we're used to having to inspire and lead and provide for others. Self-care is so important at this point in time, especially when the world reopens. We're going to be expected to give to others. And if we haven't taken care of ourselves in this point in time, I think it's going to be really challenging for a lot of us. For the first time, the entire human race is facing the exact same thing, right? This virus doesn't show boundaries. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care what your political affiliations are. And this is something where we need to be together. And for me, more important than even though our routine has been disrupted, the strategy I've tried to hold every day is to keep my regular business hours, even though I'm at home. I'm getting up every morning, I'm showering, I'm putting on a shirt like I'm going to a meeting, and that's helping me stay in my routine. I'm establishing those business hours. There's a couple days a week where I teach my fitness class. I'm not able to now. So I'm doing that class on my scheduled time on my own. So I'm staying in my routine. And it's really easy in situations like this. I'm going to sleep in. I don't really need to get up. But if we continue to do that, especially for a long period of time, our body's going to go in this state of disruption that's going to be really hard for us to get out of. So my strategy for me is just try and keep your routine, keep your regular business hours, have lunch when you normally have lunch, go to bed when you go to bed, get up when you get up. And I've found that really helpful. But there's been days where I feel like I need to be on social media giving to others saying it's going to be okay. But sometimes I don't even have the energy to do that. And so I'm really having to manage and recognize that and have the ability to say, no, it's okay to take care of me today, because that's what's most important right now.
Good stuff, Dan. Thank you. Farrell, how about you? How are you approaching this?
Well, I think that when it comes to our home, our home is turned into our office. It's turned into our studio. It's turned into, place of family and emotion. And it's interesting. It's, for me, it's a matter of compartmentalizing, because sometimes I feel as if, we're all kind of in this mush together. I am a mom and I've got, 3 teenage girls, and, it's sort of like compartmentalizing is sort of like having a peeing section in a pool. Like it's very difficult to structure that space. And so for me, from a physical standpoint and also a mental and emotional standpoint, it's been really important to establish areas where I work, where I love on my daughters, where I do my workouts, and where's my studio, which is the garage. But what does that all look like, so that mentally and emotionally, when I'm in those spaces, I can be in those spaces for those reasons? It has disrupted, and at the same time, it's also forced us to rethink sort of how we navigate our days. And like Dan was saying, it's having those routines and having spaces in your house where that are special to whatever work you're doing, whether it's your own personal work on self, or it's your work on your business, or it's your work in your family. But that those are the places that those happen. That doesn't always work, but it's helpful to at least mentally, emotionally compartmentalize where we are right now.
Thanks, Farrell.
Sure.
Lawrence, how about you?
Cindy, one of the ways that I rephrase your question is, how do I interpret or redefine our hashtag new home, if you will? And because I come from the spa world, that's given me so much solace over the years, where SPA stand for something for spa, as the spas I managed, then I have to take a new approach to defining or making an acronym for my home, HOME. And for H, I like to think of that for my home as the hearth. Wherever I'm going to nurture what is most important to me, I think for most of us, that's going to be our bed, which means it's not for anything other than making my teapot full. I've always said to the people I mentor, we can't serve tea if our teapot is empty. So my ratio of time of head to pillow is my hearth. My bed is what sustains me. So if I'm not meditating and I'm not sleeping, I'm not in my hearth, i.e. my bedroom. H is for hearth. O for home. O stands for outside. What is on the outside world? What connects me to the outside? Number one, that might be where I go in my place that is not my hearth or bed to connect to the outside world. So if I'm going to listen to, say, NPR, I don't do it from my other 3 possible letters, H, M, and E. I do it from where I've decided in my home, I will connect to the outside world and bring in the outside world of terms of what I'm going to listen to, what I'm going to read that connects me socially, hashtag social connection, or where I'm going to Zoom, bring others in. Now I do Zoom happy hours or wine hours, and I do that in a specific section that for me, I associate with the outside world, and also where I am socially connected, whether I am on Facebook or I am on Instagram. That's either outside areas around my place or inside areas where I'm using my O or connecting to my outside. For my M, that's my mission control, or for what some of us, we might call our home office, which is now, number one, my set, as you see behind me. This is not going away. This is lighting. This is a lot of smoke and mirrors. This is a lot of money to look this cheap. And I have to say that this area is now part of my new reality. And it's one of 3 S's in my mission control. One is my set. My second S is where I study. This is where I'll read something for self-preservation, my motivation, my education, my inspiration, or I'm reading something that I need to learn for others, like how to go from a boomer to a zoomer in 10 seconds, right? Or 3 hours in my case. And also where I do my writing, my third S of being a scribe, set, study, and scribe. And then E of home, H-O-M-E, is where I eat. I don't take social, I don't take news, I don't take hearth, I don't take bed, I don't take Netflix. Where I'm eating is the Italian celebratory experience of prepare the ingredients, whatever I got around, put together to sustain myself so that I can give forth energy, time, and love to others. HOME now has separate compartments of my business and my home life.
That is terrific. I took notes while you guys were I've got to enact some of these things for myself, but just to quickly summarize our first question, the takeaways there: acceptance, establish routine, compartmentalize, set boundaries, rethink what works in your home because it's new territory for all of us, and employ and act Lawrence's home acronym.
Love that.
Yeah,
To
that's awesome.
give yourself some structure. Great stuff. Great start to the webinar. So I want to move on to talk about sleep. Now, sleep was already a problem in public health. It's top of conversation even before COVID-19. But I think the stress of the pandemic has made it a lot worse for many. What should we be doing before, during, and after sleep to ensure optimal health and performance? And then how can we help others with cleaning up their sleep hygiene? And this was a pet topic of Dan's, and so I'm gonna throw it to Dan to start things off.
Yeah, it's I've spent a lot of time in the last year or so researching, trying to understand sleep. I think we all know the importance of it. It's one of those things that's so easy for us to change that doesn't cost anything, but no one seems to be making it a priority. And this really stemmed from me suffering from burnout in 2012. I think, WHO has now recognized this as an official thing, right? And in our industry, burnout is incredibly in the forefront for a lot of us. So if we take a look at our 24-hour day, right, we have our work day, which is 8 hours, then we have this other 8 hours where we're not at work, and then we have sleep, which is 8 hours. We need to treat sleep like an event, like we treat our work day an event. What do we do before we go to work? What do we do during work? And what do we do after? Sleep is an event. And once I understood that we should be treating it like an event, my sleep habits completely changed. And break it down before, during, and after. The list is huge. But the two biggest things that have made the biggest difference in my sleep patterns is, first and foremost, shutting down all technology 30 to 60 minutes before going to bed. Second thing is making sure that I have this routine that's allowing me to get ready for bed, what we call neuroassociations, right? Those of you who have children, I'm expecting mine for the first in 4 months from now, but we give our babies baths. And once they start to go into the bath, it starts to signal this neuroassociation. Oh, it becomes nap time. We get out of bath, we read them a story, they fall asleep. Once I started doing that for myself, I noticed a huge difference in my sleep pattern. So shutting down technology, having a warm bath or shower, and then doing some reading from a good old-fashioned book before I go to bed. Not on a Kindle. I'm looking to try and decrease cortisol and increase melatonin in a natural way. So those have been the three big things for me. During sleep has been blocking out all light and all sound in my bedroom, right? So I try to have my bedroom look like an IKEA showroom, right? If I walk into a cluttered bedroom, cortisol goes up, right? So I've done all these great things. I've shut down technology. I've had this warm bath. I'm reading a book. And then I walk into my bedroom and it's a cluttered mess. It doesn't promote good sleep patterns, right? So I want to make sure that the bed is made. My laundry hamper is not even in my bedroom anymore because I'm used to having clothes all over the bedroom, right? So I want to create this sleep sanctuary. So make sure it's tidy, block out all light, and block out all noise. I've also gotten rid of my phone, which used to be my alarm clock beside my bed, right? I don't have that temptation there anymore, right? So it's still my alarm clock, but it's in the spare bathroom down the hallway. So if I get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, I'm not tempted to check my phone, right? So if it's there, it's a temptation. Next thing you know, you're an hour on Instagram at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not good for sleep pattern. And then upon waking, first thing I do in the morning is, obviously we're in a dehydrated state. So first thing I do first thing in the morning is have a glass of room temperature water with some fresh squeezed lemon and a little bit of pink sea salt. I hydrate first thing in the morning. And the biggest pattern I've tried to do now in the morning is not go anywhere near my phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. I call it owning my day. The moment I check my email, the world now owns my day. So it's been really difficult for me. especially when I'm on the West Coast and my company's on the East Coast, I wake up to a barrage of emails. So it's so tempting to want to check those emails, but I try to take the first 30 minutes to hydrate, do a little bit of gratitude and intentions for the day. That's still a challenge for me, but I'm working really hard at it. And then making sure I'm getting my nutrition in before I check my emails. I want to control the controllables. So I want to enter the day in a state where I feel like I can control what the world is going to place upon me.
Well, I am so doing everything wrong right now. So.
And as Lawrence said, right, the bedroom is designed for two things and they both begin with S.
Right on. Okay, Lawrence, can you share your strategies, please?
I'm happy to share my strategies, but first to Dan, hashtag lucky you. All right, I would like to say, my understanding of this question is, what am I doing to embrace or enhance sleep overall? And whatever certifications we have in our industry, I believe we all agree that we have to talk within our scope of practice. So let me caveat and preface everything I'm going to say that I'm going to speak from me, and I am not saying that I or IDEA endorses the following for you. I'm just going to tell you what's really working for me, as she's taking a swig of something, our host, what I am increasing and what I am decreasing. I am increasing on my watch just 5 to 7%, and you have to calculate that based on your goals, my steps and my calories that I want to have done to achieve my 3 rings of Apple goals. And that's a secret little sneaky way, or a hack, if you will, to use this big millennial word, that I'm using to make sure I'm putting out a little more calories, a little more movement, a little more steps, that something is tracking. And then I'm also thinking of the word 10 in my word intensity. And I'm taking 10 minutes of my day and I'm doing something that I might not love, like burpees, or like outside on my almond tree where I have my rings to do my pull-ups. Instead of 3 sets, when I'm out playing with Biscuit, which is designated biscuit time, I will do 4 sets. Something that makes me include or increase my intensity that I can wrap my head around 10 minutes of sort of a bigger output, and then I'm getting 10 minutes more of daylight per day. For some of us, that's a little challenge, but the research I know on my face and hands, even on a cloudy day, if I can go to my terrace or even by a window, regardless of how elsewhere I am clad, will help increase my serotonin, increase my melatonin with circadian rhythms later. So I increase those things, and then I increase nap time. I look to the blue zones and I look to what my grandparents have done, and Nonna in a dream once, she said, dormi. And I was like, what does that mean? Sleep a little bit, right? So I now have my sleep timers on 7.5 hours, rob Peter to pay Paul. And now with Biscuit, after we swim in the afternoon, I do a 20 to 30 minute nap time by my pool. And because I've had my nap, it helps me balance out sleep daily. My body's working for me. I don't know about BDNF, but I feel that it's working kind of high for me. And then right before bed, because I've increased calories and steps and energy, gotten some daylight, added some intensity, I give myself a little bit of chamomile tea that instead of water, I brew with my lactate 0% non-fat milk, and add 2 drops of valeriana on a day when I feel I've been super caffeinated or hyper, because prior to bed I may have had to Skype with Asia or a country that's just waking up and I had to be up. Those are my practical tips for sleep.
Thanks, Lawrence. I don't even know how you guys figure this stuff out. I mean, I really need to study this a bit more for myself. And I'm sure others do too. Shirley, would you care to share your strategies with us?
Sure, I'd love to. I was trying to listen very mindfully so that I can add to all the enormous number of fantastic tips that we've already had. And as you mentioned, I used to work at Stanford University, and we have a very renowned sleep research center there. So I've had the opportunity to listen to a number of experts talk about sleep. And one of the most favorite takeaways I have from hearing these talks is this idea of landing your helicopters. And the notion is that we will continue to think about things that we are worrying about, or we think we forgot to do it, or in my case, I'm worried that I'm going to forget it if I don't remember it that moment. So I'm like, oh gosh, I remember that I need to do this tomorrow, but I'm not going to remember tomorrow that I need to do it. So, keeping a little pad just by your bedside and writing down all the things that are just, a little brain dump. So just write down all the things that are on your mind. And if you are settling down and quieting yourself to end your day, reading the book, which I also love to do myself as a way to relax, something comes to your mind, jot it down. And this way you've dealt with it and it doesn't keep rolling around in your mind. The other thing is you can do is to spend some time thinking about what makes you feel good. So if you respond to things like lavender or other nice scents, there are so many, you can diffuse that in your room, you can spritz it on your pillow, things that make you feel good. We're all very different. So, what's right for Lawrence or Dan or Farrell may not be what's right for you or what's right for me. So think about, well, what makes me feel good? What makes me feel calm? And maybe it's indulging in wonderful, crisp sheets that are just
100%.
so lovely, and the comfiest pillow. I just love getting into a bed that feels so good. So make that a priority. Make your bed like a castle, a real place that feels luxurious, where you really want to relax. And then keep in mind that when you sleep, that's where the body rests and repairs. That's one of the greatest, I don't like the word anti-aging because it seems ridiculous. We're all aging, but it's a health enhancing. Yeah, it's nonsense. Show me someone who's not aging, but it's a way that we rest and restore, repair ourselves. It's the only time that it happens. So remind yourself of that, and that you really need to enjoy that deep sleep. And maybe one benefit of this crisis, because I'm all about looking for the silver linings, is that you don't have to wake up for that 6 a.m. class, or you have a little bit more spaciousness in how you decide to organize your time. So allow yourself to wake up naturally. Tap into that natural rhythm, and really maybe use the time to discover, what is the ideal time for me to go to bed? How long do I need to sleep for me to feel really refreshed? Because when you wake up in the morning, you should really feel good and ready to go on with your day. So notice, take the time, use this time to explore what that sweet spot is for you. That's what I like to add.
Excellent suggestion, Shirley. Thank you. And Farrell, how about you?
Well, I hate that I'm last for this one because you guys said all the things that I was going to say. But I just doubled down on so many of those. Dan, you really spoke to me about the lack of phone and computer, and that's something that I've been doing now for several years. And it's really a matter of like you're saying, owning your day or owning your space. It's taking action around what you allow to come into your space mentally too. There's so much stimulation, especially with social media, and now with everything being virtual, there's a lot coming at us, and we get to choose when that can stop. And I think a lot of us aren't there yet. You're just coming at me. And we're not allowing that to happen. And one thing that Shirley said that really struck a chord, which I really believe in, and that is just having awareness. This is a time for us to really be aware what does bring us joy, having awareness of how we're moving through all of this, and then choosing to do it differently. Having that space where we actually can pause and say, are the things that I'm doing leading up to going to sleep, are those things actually serving me? Because I know so many people lay there falling asleep with their phones because they're just scrolling through things, and that doesn't allow you to create the space that you get to have, that you get to choose. Having that notepad, like Shirley was saying, is something that's so important. I find myself waking up in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about stuff, and I know you all feel this way. You start going down that rabbit hole, just getting it out, mentally, emotionally vomiting on a piece of paper so that you can say, okay, I'll deal with that later. I've got it out. as opposed to it just staying and spiraling, right? And then just creating some sort of closure. So I love Dan's routine with the bath. I want to take a bath right now, but I'll wait, of that bath, because that's like a physical action of closing down the day, choosing to close down the day, so that when you lay your head on the pillow, it's intentional. And that's what I think a lot of this time is about, is creating the awareness. How have I been moving through my day pre-COVID-19? How do I get to choose to move through my day? And how might that be different after this, when we all come back? And hopefully we've created some habits and some patterns that that are about self-care, so that this part continues, right? That our sleep schedule is something that we solidify, that we own, so that when we start reopening into the world, we might do it in a more mindful, intentional way.
Yeah,
that could be another silver lining.
Good stuff.
Hey, Sandy, do you mind if I Sandy, do you mind if I just add
Oh,
something?
jump in, Dan.
I think it's
Go ahead.
based on what Lawrence had said and what Shirley had said, and I've been spending a lot of time with the Stanford Research Sleep Clinic. They do a lot of great stuff there. And so we talk about the 7.5 to 8 hours that Lawrence is attempting to get. And then we talk about journaling at the end of the day to dump information. This whole period of 8 hours of sleep is so important, because you need to get those 5 to 6 REM cycles. You've got to get those 90-minute cycles of sleep per night to process information and put away it and learn. So if we're trying to learn a new task, or we're trying to brain dump information, if we do that but only get 4 hours of sleep, it's not allowing us to process it or dump it, right? So those REM sleep cycles, which are about 90 minutes, we need to get 5 or 6 of those per night in order to cleanse and purge and have ourselves fall asleep and have this great sleep at night. So I think it's really important. The quality and the quantity is also very important.
Yeah, that's a great point. We have a couple of really terrific CEC articles on sleep. In fact, Shirley, I think you may have written one of them. I know Dr. Pam Peake did one. Dr. Terry Mosey did one. So just dive into the ideafit.com article archive for Fitness Journal, and you'll find several really good resources on the science of sleep in there. Excuse me. So just to summarize some of the great points you guys made, number one, treat sleep like an event, have a routine, and that can include everything from shutting down tech 30 to 60 minutes ahead of time, creating those neuro associations, whether it's taking a bath or whatever is going to relax you personally. Have a clean, uncluttered space. Make your bedroom your haven or your sanctuary. Make sure the phone's not in the room. Try not to use it as your alarm clock anymore. Hydrate first thing in the morning, and have boundaries as to when you get onto your phone in the morning, so that your day is not owned immediately by outside stresses. Lawrence's great point about increasing 5 to 7% of your steps or calories, your movement, just to up your game as a hack. And then try to schedule in some nap time or catch a nap as you can. And then Shirley's landing your helicopters, which I loved. Write down what's on your mind, do that brain dump. And I know Farrell also reinforced that. And then also figure out what calms you personally. Again, those neuro associations. So whether that's aromatherapy or music or reading. And then again, turn off the fire hose of outside information. Do not take your phone to bed. I can't emphasize that one enough. And then just recognize, have awareness, as Farrell advised, have awareness around maybe what is not the best habit, and then do it differently. I think I covered it.
Right.
That was amazing.
I want to move on to talk about, and this is a pretty new topic, and I know we could go on for a long time about it, but I wanted to focus some time on the power of regular meditation practice or a gratitude practice to calm the mind, the nervous system, and the body. What are some simple suggestions we can use to begin practicing, or if we've already been practicing, how do we up our game. And I want to start with Shirley. I know she has a lot of expertise in this area.
Yes, I am spending as much time teaching meditation these days as I do teach fitness. So it's a very near and dear to my heart. And in fact, one of the things I've created spontaneously during this crisis is a Facebook group, which everyone's welcome to join. And it's on Facebook if you're my friend, which most of you all are, and most of them, everyone in the industry, I'm always friends with. Whoever wants to be can join. It's just Mindful Moments Meditation with Shirley. But what I recommend for people to do is not to worry about meditating. Do not make it a stressful event. Do not worry, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Can I do it? What's the right way to do it? What's the wrong? So breathing is available to all of us, and it's available to us in the present moment. And accessing breath awareness, starting with conscious breathing, is probably one of the easiest and most available ways. And studies show that even 5 minutes of noticing your breath is a powerful way to calm. In fact, even today I did a little talk about conscious breathing. So here's a great acronym. It's not an acronym, a tag, 365. Try 3 times a day to have 6 breath cycles per minute for 5 minutes. That is proven to reduce your heart rate. It can reduce borderline hypertension without pharmaceutical drugs. It can reduce symptoms of menopause, hot flashes, and other disruptive things that women go through. Something as simple as accessing our breath, because it's that gateway to the parasympathetic nervous system, where we start to access calm. And one thing I really want to emphasize is that stress is contagious. And it's part of our herd mentality, because we are connected to all of us socially. And if you look at antelope, one of my favorite things is if you look in the wild, there's typically one animal that's on watch when there's a group. And that animal's job is to alert everyone else when it sees a predator. And so we are hardwired as part of our survival, and they know about this in the limbic brain, to respond to signals of danger from members of our social group. So when society and the world is experiencing group anxiety and fear on a very real level, this is contagious. So some form of mental hygiene or management of our thoughts is very important, because it will be natural and normal for us to feel anxiety. We are going to catch the fear that is around us. And when we breathe and we can feel, oh, I'm okay. Hey, I'm still here. This moment, I'm calm, I'm centered, I'm grounded. That can go a long ways toward letting us access that part of ourself that is calm and in the moment. And the more we practice that, the more able we can access that at any time. So I think that anyone can meditate. It's if you don't like the word meditation, just breathe. It's available to all of us, and it can be just that simple. And I also recommend the gratitude practice, but I'll let someone else talk about that at more length.
Beautiful.
Lawrence, do you want to jump in here?
Sure. Can I stay seated? When Shirley was talking about the breathing, I wanted to point to my Apple Watch, because it reminds me to breathe, and the goal or the ideal setting to try to get to is 6 breaths per minute. But I thought if she's speaking and I'm doing this, she might be thinking, who is he? Just kidding. Like, your time's up, Missy. In talking about some self-care tips towards meditation or gratitude. I'll share with you 5. Number 1, I believe that tourist goes around the world and focuses on all the ways that we're different. But now with this thing going on, we have to have a traveler mentality, which is we go around the world and focus on the way we're all the same, because this thing has leveled all of our lands. And we, as Shirley said, are all breathing. So my first tip is, when I wake up, I tell myself to have a mantra of 3 syllables, 3 words. I got this. When I inhale and I exhale, I am okay. I got this, I am okay. And that's my couple breaths of that. And when I go to bed, it becomes past tense, right? I got this, I am okay. Meaning God, I got this, I got all that's gonna come up today, and I got this, I did, I got it. It's done because I'm here and I'm not dead. So that's one specific breathing technique. Number 2, I believe that we look at now minute meditation for people who might be afraid, or like the dummy series, Meditation for Dummies. So many of our idea presenters like Helen Vanderberg and Petra Kolber and Yuri Rocket and Shirley Archer are putting out minute meditations for people who don't know where to start, on their YouTube channel, on their Facebook, on their Facebook groups. It's not something we are charging for, but we're letting people just access some affirmations or some breathing or from senses or our 5 senses, how to spend just 60 seconds and really hack your wellness in something that might leave you hungry for more. Number 3, I believe that we want to develop an appetite for meditation. And what do I mean by that? Play on the first 3 letters, appetite. Look on your smartphones for free and paid apps. I'm not going to mention any because I'm exploring new ones that are flooding the app market, some paid, some free, that are allowing us, seasoned meditators and newbies, to log on and just get some ideas of how to connect to your biorhythms and your EMG alpha wave cycle, or just tell you, inhale now, silly, and try if that works for you and our appetite for wellness. Number 4, a gratitude jar is super important. I make it a ceremony. I think, what am I full of gratitude now that I haven't done before, that I haven't been thoughtful or mindful of before? I'll show you mine if I got some permission to show you mine. Here's my little, it used to be a fish aquarium, and when the fish died, I thought, how appropriate for what's going on now. I filled in with a piece of paper, different kinds of paper, different kind of ideas, what I'm grateful for, one specific thing, but it can't have been something that I have been putting into the jar, which makes me meditative. I think I contemplate, and then I embrace, and then I write, and then I put in, and it becomes a 3 to 4 minute ritual. And the last thing is I light a candle, because if it's aromatherapeutic and maybe soy and maybe makes me breathe deeper, I can't be thinking about streaming the news while I'm in the process of lighting, looking at my candle, blowing out my candle, sensing my candle, real breath and real connection to what's around us. So 2 or more of our 5 senses together can really enhance a meditative experience.
Thanks, Lawrence. Those are super approachable and very practical. Excuse me, I have a terrible frog in my throat.
Oh.
Let's move on to Dan.
Well, first of all, thank you for not putting me first, Sandy, because this is so, as I said a bit earlier, this is a whole new world for me, something I'm trying really hard to include in my daily practice. As opposed to kind of the gratitude journal at the end of the evening, which is something I'm trying really hard to stay consistent with, and my intentions for the day upon waking. For me, it's just taking the time to breathe, Shirley, and that's the biggest thing for me, and I need a lot of help with that. So one thing that I've found quite helpful, there's an app called Tap In that I discovered about 6 months ago, and at 12 p.m. PST every day, the app says, do you want to tap in? And if you tap in for 10 minutes, some sort of mindfulness expert is taking you through a guided breathing meditation for 10 minutes every day. And every time someone from the world pops in, you see these bubbles pop up on the screen. So it goes from 3 to 10 to 60. And that's how many people are tapping in from around the globe at that time, just to take a guided meditation and breathing. And so that's something that I rely on a daily basis to make sure I'm staying consistent with it. But it's really something for me that I need to spend more time personally doing. And so that's just been a big task for me, is just finding a way to put it into my daily world. When I was working at Under Armour, we really started to dive into breathing for recovery and performance for athletes. but then all of these other benefits started to rear its head for me personally. And I think, Shirley, you might have mentioned it. People sometimes don't like the word meditate, but if you're breathing, you're meditating, right? So just taking that time, I wrote it down, the 365. I mean, I'd never heard that before. And I'm like, that's me right there. That's going to be my daily challenge for myself, is trying to employ that 365 for me. But yeah, Sandy, that's really what I'm trying to do for myself. But when the world reopens, I'd said this 6 months ago, in terms of my investment in education, that's where I'm going to spend my dollars, is now diving more into the breathing part of not only recovery and performance, but in terms of just mindfulness.
Thanks, Dan. And Farrell, do you want to take us home on this one?
I do. I mean, for me, meditation, it sounds sort of weird because I was kind of raised hippie, so it was sort of like meditation was just part of like everyday being, but I didn't like the word because it felt so structured, and so like it had to look in my mind a certain way, and so I think a lot of people actually feel this way, and I have talked to a lot of fit pros that are really challenged in this area. We go. It's all about output, and like we said, inspiring, motivating, filling up someone else's cup, and the burnout is real. And so for me, it's not necessarily meditation, it's more gratitude. It's more looking around and seeing what's right and what's good. Our brain naturally goes to what is missing, what is not right, what we're fearful about. And I know that all of us on this call are very aware of what's happening in our industry from a financial standpoint for a lot of small businesses, a lot of independent personal trainers, group fitness instructors. From a business and financial standpoint, it's a dark time for a lot of people right now. And so I think this one might actually be the hardest when it comes to meditating or even finding gratitude. And so for those that are listening, we hear you, we get it, we understand, and it's okay to not be okay in moments.
Wow.
And then what I would encourage everyone to do is to look around, find what's good, and say it out loud. Be present in those moments. And it could be something like, I'm grateful I have electricity. I'm grateful I have running water, right? I mean, there are just so many things that if we just ground ourselves in the basic benefits of what we might have right now, we might start to see other goodness that's around us, right? We might not feel that we're in abundance right now. We might feel as if we're in scarcity right now. And so having the daily practice, and not just once a day, but throughout the day, being out loud about what you're grateful for. If you are in a house with other people, for example, if you are a parent, being out loud about your gratitude towards the silly things might make your kids roll their eyes, might make your brother, sister, aunt, uncle, grandma be like, oh, seriously, we're doing this again. That is contagious as well, as Shirley was saying. You know, gratitude is contagious, as is fear, as is anxiety, as is feeling scarcity. So for me, the practice is about moment by moment being out loud about what you're grateful for, and creating that practice so that that's what you end up seeing versus the stuff that's really hard and scary and dark right now, because that's real too.
100%.
So really just focusing on the everyday basics of life and being gratitude for, you know, like here in Southern California, the sun is finally out after 2 weeks of rain. So that makes such a huge difference for me. And I would love to summarize all these points, but I want to be mindful of our time, and we still have two pretty meaty questions to get to. So I'm going to move forward with our next topic. And that's that, you know, as people who give to others, fitness pros in general, we know we can't help others until we help ourselves first. We've already covered a lot of ground on this, but I wanted to explore some simple tips to help ensure that we show up as our best selves for our own sake, but also for the sake of, you know, our families, our clients, others we're in contact with. What are some ways that we can stay positive, manage our self-talk, maintain motivation, and just really sort of be okay with accepting the unknown? And Farrell, I wanted to start with you because this was one of your chosen topics.
Yeah, prioritizing self, I guess, is the very first thing I want to say. You know, it's a very common used phrase, but when you get on an airplane, you put your oxygen mask on first. We always say that, we don't always do that. Self-talk is something that can be profoundly wonderful and propel you into really great spaces of expansion as in self. But for the most part, I know a lot of us tend to have that negative self-talk, right? What isn't going well, what isn't going right. I think about our lives, and this again is probably a familiar analogy of, instead of juggling things in our life, that they're spinning plates, like you'd see at the circus, right? The plate spinners with the sticks. And each plate can represent something in your life, right? One is work, one is family, relationship, one has to be self. And when we can have some grace with ourselves and say, you know what, I've spun the work plate enough that if I move and pivot away from that, it's going to be okay. I've spent some time, some energy on my work, on my business. I can now look at relationship. Have I spun that plate in my relationship? Have I given that time, energy, love, so that I know I can then pivot to spin the plate of self-care? And what I mean by all of that is you don't have to be doing all things all the time. And if you spend enough time in each category or space in your life, you can put your head again down on the pillow and go, I've done enough. However, we can't ignore the plate that's self. And that has to be established in certain practices. All of these things we're talking about today have to be things that we're proactive about. That we have to say, I matter enough to spend some time in that space of self-care, that space of recognizing self-talk and then turning it into something that's different. Find ways that you can take care of yourself so that you can then take care of others. Are your actions serving you? Are the words in your head serving you? And if they are not, you get to choose whether they're going to be there or not. This is your story. The pen's in your hand. Figure out the way to write the story that's going to help you then help those that are around you. It has to start with you. We have to begin with prioritizing self. And so the awareness of those thoughts, those actions, those non-actions that aren't serving you, this is the time to start pivoting and changing those. A little passionate about it.
Thanks, Cheryl. Really insightful stuff.
Beautifully said.
And just to give us a time marker, we have about 7 or 8 minutes left. So, and I have one other question to get to. So let's go through Dan, Lawrence, and Shirley on this question, and then we'll move on quickly to the next one.
Yeah, Farrell, beautifully said. I mean, I have not much to add on top of that. As I say, it's just, I think in this industry, you know, we're all type A, and I say we're all type E, which means we try to be everything for everybody. Under normal circumstances, and right now we are certainly not under normal circumstances. So all I can say is what I'm attempting to do is I'm trying to, obviously my situation is very interesting. You know, I've got a pregnant wife of 5 months. I'm expecting my first child at the age of 50 years old. You know, in 4 months from now, that's going to need to be my world and my priority. So right now, on top of taking care of myself, I'm just trying to make sure that my wife is taken care of, that she's out of harm's way, and that she stays healthy, right? We had our 5-month ultrasound 3 days ago, and I had to sit in the parking lot and do it via FaceTime because I couldn't go in, right? So I think it's really easy to be negative. It's harder to be positive, right? So I'm just trying to find the little nugget every day that puts a smile on my face and say, this too shall pass. So I'm just taking one day at a time, right? Sometimes we're too focused on the future, but right now really it is, what do I need to do to get through today? And it's going to be okay. And then tomorrow is going to be the next day. That's my strategy at the moment.
Amen. Lawrence, how about you next?
Amen. My stress management strategies include, number one, remembering when I'm in the O of my home, outside connection and listening to news, that stress is resistance to what is. We have to determine what we believe to be facts, but if we try to oppose that, that's what creates our stress, opposition to what is. The things I cannot control. As Captain Kate of Celebrity Cruises, the first female captain now at sea with 3,000 crew and no passengers, says, Lawrence, I can't control the weather and I can't control the sea, but I can control where I'm directing my ship, and I can control how I choose to take care of my crew. Therefore, some tips I'm doing specifically is not being resistive to the facts and what is. Number one, I'm increasing my water and increasing my supplements just because I think who's eating properly, and even if I am, there might be stress. So if I choose to take a vitamin, I'm now taking 2. And in addition to making sure I'm supplementing with what I might want to supplement without specifics, then I'm going to say, how do I stay positive? I have a playlist, and it's called my positive playlist that I'm never going to teach to after this. That's just for me. Songs that remind me of where I am that keep me positive, like Out There from Disney, like From a Distance, like Can't Touch This, and Don't Come or Don't Stand So Close to Me. These are special songs now that tie me to my time and keep me positive. Then my self-talk. How do I keep self-talk positive? Stay busy. If you're busy working for others, you cannot. If you're of service, have negative self-talk about yourself. I read Petra Kolber, Idea Presenter's book, Perfection Detox. If you're worried about being perfectionist, then no one's gonna relate, and we're all leveled now. So that's how I worry about positive or negative self-talk. For motivation, 2 tips. Number 1, I have 2 teams. 1, hashtag Team Lawrence. Those are my people that bring me up when I might not be. And then 2, my hashtag Team HAC or 100 Acre Woods. Those are all the people I mentor who for me are all my poo characters. And when I know that I'm going to mentor them or we're going to jump on a call or we have a Facebook meet, I know I have to be up for them, and keeping of service helps me take care of my self-care. And then your last thing was about the unknown. How do we prepare ourselves with self-care for the unknown? You can't do anything. I have no tips except faith. Faith this until we got this. I'm not sure about fake it till you make it, because I'm not out about put out what I'm not. I am show who Lawrence is, and I do have faith, and I believe that if I've been given powers, it's to withstand anything that will come my way. So I faith this until I got this.
Love it, Lawrence. Thank you. Shirley, you want to take us home on this one?
Yes, well, there have been so many lovely tips. So the one thing I will add is self-compassion, which can be a practice as a meditation practice. And a lot of people are confused by the word self-compassion. All that means is treating yourself with the same kindness and sensitivity that you would treat another person for whom you have regard. And hopefully that's most everyone, including the planet. So, and if that's hard to think about, you know, visualize in your mind someone who you love so much unconditionally. It can be a plant or even a pet, and just tap into that warm feeling that you get when you think of that, whomever it is, that just unconditional love for you, unconditional love for that being. And feel into that space. You know, take some time to appreciate this, and to really, if you catch yourself getting negative, you know, acknowledge this is hard. Yes, it's okay, but give yourself the reassurance, give yourself the hug that you would give to a friend that was going through that, and give them that reassurance, give them that support, give you that love, give you that respect, give you that understanding, give you that patience and that care. Because this is a time more than ever that we really need to hold ourselves in love and kindness. It's very, very important.
It truly is astounding how hard we can be on ourselves. And if you listen to yourself, talk to yourself sometimes, and you know you would never treat another person like that. And so yeah, we all need to go gentle on ourselves for sure.
Sometimes our own head is the worst place to be. I said sometimes our own head is the worst place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so very quickly, each of you have 60 seconds. We're going to do a quick lightning round. Just final words of advice for our audience, and we'll go Dan, Farrell, Lawrence, and Shirley.
Words of advice. What I'm spending my time doing now is I'm trying to take advantage of my time to learn new skills, to improve my skills on leadership. I'm jumping in on as many webinars or Zoom calls that's going to help me fill my bucket and increase my skill set and my knowledge level once the world reopens. So I want to be prepared, right? So we know in our industry when the green light go is that a lot of people are going to be wanting a lot from us immediately. I firmly believe that if you work in the health club industry and you're a fitness instructor, people are going to crave human interaction because they've been distanced for so long, right? So how are you going to serve? How will you be ready for that? So you need to take care of yourself and find ways to be productive with your time, reading a new book, reading upon sleep. I myself am having to really do a deep dive on technology because I'll be the first to admit I've been using technology, but I haven't relied on it as much as I've had to now. So I'm trying to understand that world more.
Okay, great. Farrell.
I think last piece of advice would be stop shoulding on yourself. There's no should in how we're supposed to navigate this unprecedented time. You do you find ways that fill your bucket, and find some grace in others and some grace in yourself.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Farrell. Well said. Lawrence.
We can look at all of this if we're in the West with a Western mentality of quarantine, or adopt our friends' philosophy in the East that we have a retreat, and we are absolutely responsible for the fact that our dreams are not in quarantine or are not in retreat. There are a lot of things that can be contagious, like enthusiasm, like your desire to connect, like doing whatever it takes to connect to one new person per day in our times of needed social connection and physical distancing. Notice I never use the words social distancing. My goal is to do service so that when we can come back together with our contagious mentality and emotional set, that not one of us is missing.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, Lawrence. Thank you. And final word for Shirley Archer.
Okay, so many beautiful thoughts. I would like to add that, and I would invite everyone to take some time for a digital detox and alone visioning. This is one of the faculty members at Stanford used to encourage us to be without gravity. So this is a great opportunity for dreaming. Take some time, give yourself some space, connect with your heart. Imagine a world that could be as any way that you want. What does that world look like? And what is your part to play in it? And forget about gravity, forget about reality. Just allow yourself to play and really envision what that feels like, and what are you doing? What are you saying? What are you wearing? Who are you with? How does that feel to be in this brand new beautiful world? And allow yourself to do some dreaming, because we're going to be able to have a chance to reinvent when we come out of this. I mean, this is an opportunity, and so use the chance to re-envision what it is you want from your life, what it is you want to create and to give. I mean, I think it's also a great wake-up call that life itself is precious, that health is precious, that people, all of us, you're so beautiful, wonderful, great community. This is what matters. So tap into that and think about how you want to be, and what you can give, and how you can most let your star shine, because now you have the chance. Go do it.
What a beautiful thought to end on. Dream, connect with your heart, and figure out what your part to play in this new world will be. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. And again, to this amazing panel, on behalf of IDEA and the entire fitness community, many, many thanks for sharing your rich experience and giving us all such just truly practical and actionable ideas to try. I love each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much.
Love all of you too.
Everyone, thank
Love
you.
you too. Thank you.